everyone around the country is seeing the images of what's happening in LA. And by the way, the protests are now in other cities.
New York had a big protest.
New York had a huge one, Chicago, Boston, lots of cities where the protests are going on. LA, obviously, the one where there's been the most headlines.
And the only one where the National Guard has been federalized.
But this more and more is feeling like a very personal battle between President Trump and Governor Newsom, and to a lesser extent, Mayor Bass. And both men had some very harsh words to say about the other. And that's why I'm saying that this is starting to feel like it's just personal, and the rest of us are sort of caught in the crossfire. But this is what President Trump had to say yesterday. He was at Fort Bragg, speaking to soldiers there, and took quite a bit of time to trash Los Angeles and its leaders.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Unfiltered Reactions. Today we're breaking down a heated segment on TMZ featuring Michael Knowles, discussing the recent LA riot coverage and immigration. Really intense stuff.
Within the span of a few decades, Los Angeles has gone from being one of the cleanest, safest, and most beautiful cities on earth to being a trash heap with entire neighborhoods under the control of transnational gangs and criminal networks. It's horrible what's happened so quickly. Very simply, we will liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again. It's happening very quickly. We didn't do this. Los Angeles would burn. It would be burning to the ground right now, just like the houses burned to the ground just a few months ago. And the only flag that will wave triumphant over the streets of Los Angeles is the American flag. So help me God.
I mean, there's probably going to be some Dodger and Laker flags too, but
yes.
The broader point, though,
but also,
the image.
What a distasteful reference to the tragedy of the fires in January.
And the optics of doing this in front of the military while you are sending in the military against the wishes of the governor is quite a moment in American history. And to literally have them standing behind him like the folks would be at one of his rallies is quite a moment. So meanwhile, Governor Newsom is responding. He said to everybody, we're going to have this major address, put it out to all the different TV stations. Please take this live. And they put out an address that didn't have audio for 4 minutes.
Yeah, the audio, the rollout was not clean.
Which was embarrassing.
But once they actually got the audio right, what he said essentially is that he called out President Trump and said that what he's doing in California is just the start.
So Knowles jumps in during a debate over LA's unrest, talking about race, crime, and yes, immigration. He frames it as a wake-up call. We can't ignore crime tied to illegal immigration, but we should be realistic and humane.
And he was talking about sounding the alarm, said, this is something that the president plans to do in other states. Don't think that it's just California. Your state could be next.
This felt very much like a national address for somebody who might be interested in running for president, sending a message to other states, not just about California.
So is this just a personal battle? Is this just a pissing match between two leaders? Joining us now to discuss that is Michael Knowles, of course, from the Michael Knowles Show and the Daily Wire. And Michael, welcome back to TMZ Live. We said it last week that, gosh, there's nothing going on to talk about. This week, it has actually gotten more intense. What do you make of this, of the troops being deployed in Los Angeles, and while this is all going back and forth between Trump and Newsom?
So I'm going to say something nice about Gavin Newsom. That speech that was on TV, that was the best speech Gavin Newsom's ever given, at least about 4 minutes of it. I thought that first 4 minutes were really great. It went downhill when the sound was put in there. No, I don't think this is just a personal fight between two guys. Obviously, Newsom does want to run for president. I don't think that the comments from Trump on the houses burning down, I don't think they were distasteful, because Trump actually warned Newsom about the risk of fires in LA. What was it, 6, 7 years ago? Said, if you don't deal with your brush, if you don't stop diverting water into the Pacific Ocean, you're going to have a massive fire problem. Newsom didn't listen, so he bears a lot of responsibility for that. He's been a terrible governor, and so, yeah, the federal government's got to come in now when you got cop cars being lit on fire, when you got cops being assaulted.
Los Angeles is not on fire. You know that.
Parts of downtown Los Angeles are on fire. Are you telling me right now that I should not believe my lying eyes when I look at the pictures of multiple cop cars on fire, of an illegal alien arrested for throwing a Molotov cocktail at a cop, trying to murder a cop? I don't know. I see a lot of fire in those pictures.
And all that is...
Look, I grew up in a family of immigrants. My mom came here with my brother as a kid, and I'll always defend people who've worked hard, put down roots, and played by the rules. After 20, 30 years? That's your life here. We shouldn't deport those folks. But when Knowles highlights crime carried out by illegal entrants or recent crossers, I'm right there with him insisting, yes, let's crack down on that. Clean out the criminals, enforce laws. That's essential for public safety. He makes a strong conservative point. Legal immigration is welcome. Illegal entry with criminal intent is not. That's a line I wholeheartedly agree with.
It's awful, and all that is in a 5, 6, 7 square block radius, right? So
all right, well, look, I hope that Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom can control that.
Is disingenuous, and the president knows it, and you know it also, but that's the message that you want to put out to the world.
Guys, I don't care if it's a 1 square mile radius or a 10 square mile radius or a 100 square mile radius. If you have gangs of foreign nationals running around your country throwing Molotov cocktails to kill cops and waving the flag of a foreign nation, I think the federal government has an interest in putting that down.
Right now, we have seen a crackdown on that by the police. The local police are the ones who established a curfew. The local police are the people that are arresting these folks. The National Guard are protecting one building, which is great, or a few different federal buildings, but not really the ones that are going after these folks. Is it necessary to have the National Guard and potentially the Marines when we still don't even know what the Marines are going to be doing?
Ready to lose the hat and regrow the hair? With Choose by Hims, you can regain your hair and your confidence.
Yeah, Alex, I think you're actually helping to make my point in defense of Trump's relative restraint here. Had Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom taken care of this on day 1, day 2, day 3, Trump would not have needed to federalize the National Guard and activate the Marines. But there are federal properties there that need to be protected. As you point out, he's allowing the LAPD finally to get some control over the situation. But Trump does need to come in, especially when you're dealing with a federal issue, which is immigration. I mean, guys, don't forget, whatever Kim Kardashian is babbling about, President Trump won the popular vote on a program of mass deportations. And what's funny is Trump has been restrained in the deportations. There's an estimated 11 to 16 million illegal aliens in the country. At this rate, President Trump, by the end of his term, might deport, 400,000, probably tops. So he's been very restrained here. And even that is impelling the left to go out and wave, notice, not really the American flag. They're waving the Mexican flag and they're assaulting cops. I think that's going to give Republicans even more of the popular vote next time. What Trump is doing is popular, and it's popular because it's right.
It's also not gross, inflammatory statement to say that all liberal people in California and LA are waving the Mexican flag.
No, the rioters. That's the rioters, but those are people on the left. They're also wearing Palestinian keffiyehs for some reason. You've got Antifa, people wearing ACAB, all cops are bad. So these are miscreants, you know. You find a handful of American flags in there, which was smart of them, but the vast majority of flags,
What really stood out to me was the tension Knowles nails. Being tough on crime and staying compassionate to those who've built a life here. That matters to me personally, as someone whose family is proof of this country's promise. It's not just safe, it's smart immigration policy to treat people differently based on how they came here and what they've done since.
And see it in the video you're playing. The vast majority are the flags of a foreign nation. That is not good optics for Democrats.
It's not.
It's not. Agreed. So one thing, Michael, let's assume that the president is right and the Guard needed to be federalized, and even some military forces needed to be prepared to come into LA. Does the number of troops not alarm you? I mean, even if you say that, even if you did say you needed some troops to protect federal buildings, 4,000 National Guardsmen and also 700 Marines. Michael, in your lifetime, do you remember Marines ever being deployed anywhere on U.S. soil?
No, but first of all, only in the last 3-4 years have we had 3 million illegal aliens coming into the country. So we have a major problem here. And I guess you have to ask yourself, what would be the purpose of deploying troops, not just the National Guard, but even U.S. Marines? Well, the purpose would be if the United States is facing something akin to an invasion. And that's a word, it's a provocative word that's been used to describe illegal immigration. But if you're looking now with the highest foreign-born percentage of the population ever, a huge disproportionate amount of that is illegal. You have those people marching in the streets, waving the flag of a foreign nation, attacking U.S. police, and throwing Molotov cocktails and creating disturbances. I don't know. If that situation doesn't call for a U.S. military response, I don't know what does.
Would you be cool?
I'd push back, though Knowles is right about enforcement. The media framing is too black and white. Not everyone in these protests or raids is a criminal. We need smart laws that don't punish hardworking families. We must keep focus. Criminals out, longtime families in.
If a Democratic president did this in a Republican state, like where you now live? No, we talked on our show, the issue is for years about how you left California because you didn't like the leadership of Gavin Newsom. You're now in Tennessee because you believe in states' rights. If all of a sudden President Gavin Newsom, I know what a concept, right? Decides to send in the troops to Tennessee because he disagrees with your governor. Would you like that?
Well, it's not just that he would be doing it because he disagrees with my governor. It would be if my governor were violating federal law and really basic aspects of federal law, like who gets to come in here and use American services and obtain birthright citizenship for his kids and transform the electorate. That's really why President Trump has to have the federal government get involved here, because what Governor Newsom is doing is violating federal law in an egregious way that the American people, including those voting in the popular vote, were able to reject back in November. So that's the issue here. If it were just Mussolini trying to chase me all the way to Tennessee, where I'm getting low taxes and free air and trying to bother me for smoking cigars or owning guns or something, that would be a different issue. But here, you've got a major national issue going on after an election. I don't know. Frankly, I think that Newsom's terrible response here is going to preclude that horrible outcome of him ending up in the White House anyway.
I do think it is.
What do you think? Should there be a path to legal status for longtime residents? And how tightly should crime enforcement tie to immigration policy? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me your take on this conservative but compassionate approach.
Key that you said states' rights, even as this state's rights are being trampled on, but that's fine.
Well, Alex said states' rights. I said low taxes and cigars.
We'll roll back the tape. You actually made a reference to states' rights. But anyway, Michael, thanks for being with us. We will. So I don't know what next week's going to hold.
Yeah.
But
it's fun to see you
guys. I don't know, nuclear apocalypse?
Yeah, looking forward to
see
talking.
you here on TMZ. Thank you.
See you guys.
And hey, if you appreciate honest takes without all the shouting, where we call out the chaos but still stand up for everyday families like mine, then make sure you subscribe to Unfiltered Reactions. This is the channel where we speak truth without hate, where common sense meets compassion. We break down the news the media twists, and we do it with real talk and not fake outrage. So if you're tired of the noise and want a voice that respects law and order and knows the heart of the immigrant story, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Let's build something real together.